Okay, officially day 3 is here. This is last day. Today my energy is definitely more like settled and less like wee, all that. It's Friday and everything that has happened this week. But welcome to day 3. And today we're gonna talk about and create an overall vision for your Beyond One-on-One Soul-Led program. It's going to be very interactive. I don't know if you had time to look at the workbook. There's things to fill, and I really want to encourage everybody to fill as much as possible so you can get the best out of this today. And I am hitting right here. And I'm going to choose the person very soon. But before, let me just bring this little reminders what to expect. Is interactive, but if you have any question, because I'm recording this for those that cannot join right now live, please put it in the chat and I'll be able to look at it and respond. And remember to download if you haven't the workbook, and the recording will be provided in the next few hours. And before we go into everything, I wanted to just get out the announcements and reminders so that way after that, then we fully focus on the information for today and I don't have to go back and forth with anything else or a weird transition. So I am gonna announce these 2 new things. One is part of the Rooted and Rising is Heal the Healer virtual retreat. So if you've been liking this work that we've kind of like, it's like a little glimpse, I go way more in depth in that retreat, which is a 2-day retreat. So I'm opening it for people that want to join, and they don't want to join the whole commitment of Rooted and Rising, but they want to join the retreat. It's open for the public. I mean, for people that fit kind of like you, not like everyone, you know what I mean. And that will be, and I'll share more in the next slide about it. There's also, after last night, this is like a work in progress. I am leaving it as well. I started thinking and reflecting, and I started thinking and I got the message that some people might just not want to do like the full thing in terms of the one-on-ones. So in order to be more affordable. So I am putting a new investment option that I'm going to share in the next slides too. And remember, today is Friday, the 21st. So today is the last day to join, apply. And if you qualify, join and to receive this 2 things, 2 extra follow calls and be able to enter in a raffle to receive 50% off. So then that's not applicable for the sliding scale. So if you pay it, then I'll reimburse you to the card or whatever that you did. So that's the announcements. Let's go into this piece. So this is the new investment plan. So I divided it into 3 tiers. We have tier 1. This is the full program. It's still the same. The main difference between these 2 is that this one is half price and it does not include the one-on-one coaching. And the one-on-one coaching, besides that, there's also direct communication with me. We create like a Google Drive, and over there, people can share, like if they have a copy for something that they want to bring out, or if they have any questions or things, they can put it there and I can review it and we can communicate directly, also via text. But for the tier 2, then we're going to take that part if that's something that is not interested, so you can have the 50% and still be able to enjoy everything else. The retreat, the course that it's the pre-recorded of all the information, the group coaching, the monthly Soulful Business calls, the monthly virtual co-working, the community text that I'll create for all of us to communicate, and the bonuses. So this is the big new announcement. And I already mentioned the retreat. And the retreat, here's what we're going to focus. It's more about thoroughly exploring this and other factors that get in the way of moving forward with what you want to bring into the world. Practice body-based regulation skills and release what no longer serves you. It's very interesting, but whenever I talk about regulation, it's, as many of you are healers, therapists, and all that, psychologists, a lot of us, we teach that, but when we don't practice it ourselves. So it's like, how can we start practicing ourselves? Because that can get in a way. That gets in a way a lot of times. It gets into a freeze response, or even like a flee, or fighting or something, and then we don't move forward with what we hear, or we bring into the world things that are not grounded. I've done that, and that then it doesn't move. It doesn't have like a good effect. Or so. For me, it's very important to build things that are grounded into not only your body that is regulated, but also into what you're here for. Learn skills to mindfully not let self-doubt rule you, and practice skills to take risk and do the thing even if you're scared. So that's the Heal the Healer virtual retreat that, like I mentioned, it's part of this too, but you can also just get it in itself for $500. And I'm going to put in the chat the link. And after that, we're going to go into choosing the person. Chat, where is the chat? Right here. So that's the link for it. And over there, you'll be able to see, oops, where am I? Over there, you'll be able to see all of this. This is updated. I just updated this morning. So you'll be able to see these. And Sophia just got in time for me to choose someone. But yeah, the difference is that I'm putting now tier 2 that only has the group calls, and it doesn't have the one-on-one coaching and the communication, direct communication with me. So there's that. And if anybody has any questions about this, also, I'm going to stay at the end. And I am noticing that I'm rushing about this, so I'm just going to take a second over here. And now we're going to choose a person. I recognize several names, so I am going to stop the share and I'm going to do it live. I found a cool place that I don't know if any of you have used this, but so I recognize Melissa, also Elimari, and I believe Sarah, right? That you've been to the 3 of them. Let me just make sure. We're probably going to have time for others. I'm just going to put the person that's going to be the main one. Okay, I think it's those 3. If somebody is like, I've attended all of them, Edith, I put it in the chat, but I think I have it. Okay, let's hit this. Okay, let's see. Click to spin. Let's see. It's going to be Sarah. Okay, there we go. Sarah, that's going to be you in a bit. And like I mentioned, most likely I am going to have time for more, but that's going to be the main one. Share the screen. Okay. Here we go. So it's Sarah. Yay. Congrats. Okay. So this is the overall view for the overall vision. Jinx or whatever. I said the thing twice. And this, you can also find it in your workbook. And I don't know the page right now. I don't have it right here with me, but if you have it next to you, that will be helpful. First, I'm going to introduce this. Then I'm going to go into 5 different ways of doing it. And then I'm going to bring back to talking about this and creating that and do the coaching. So let's start with the ground, which I think for me is very important. So how to create something from a soul-led, soulful perspective. So then the question would be, what's the calling? Like, what is trying to come through you? The other piece is, who are you here to serve? And this question, I like to put it now because I remember when I started, I was like, I'm going to work with teens and all that. And that was the folks that I was working and serving. So, but really thinking, who are you here to serve? And that comes again from that soulful. And a lot of times it can help to think when you are thinking perhaps of older versions of you, or just populations that you've been really interested in helping, people, folks that kind of like light you up. And when you think about who can you help in the world, that brings, like an internal, like a feeling or whatever, how it feels for you, that sense of wanting to help. So there's many ways how to serve them. Over here could be doing one-on-one, but we're talking beyond the one-on-one. So what other things can you do to serve them? Can you do group coaching? Can you teach? Can you create courses? Can you create circles, healing circles, support groups, peer-led groups, whatever it is, but like how to serve them? And then what is feeding these, like the all of this is like your innate gifts. So that's why that first day that we talked about innate gifts and we continue to talk about it is very important to continue to foster it. And I made a huge emphasis on the unseen gifts because the other ones you can find and Google like a value test, like your skill sets and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of tests out there, and some of them are even free. I remember via the positive psychology program at the University of Pennsylvania, they had like a whole list of different tests that you can take, and that a lot of them are free, and you can see all of that. But a lot of those are not necessarily this unseen, untangible gifts that we have as healers, psychotherapists, and coaches. Collaboration with the soul of your offering. So over here is going back to that idea of continuing to connect with the soul of your offering via meditation, messages, sitting down and journaling, walking, whatever works for you. And we made several of those lists last time as well. And inner compass, again, going back within, like how do you make decisions? Like how do you know your body is a yes response? How do you know it's a no response? And then even further, if your body is saying a no response, is it because it's a no, it's not for you, or no because I'm afraid and I've never been there and I don't want to do it, but that might be the best thing I should do? It can get that complex. It's not like a black and white kind of thing, but really just listening within you. And then the structures that hold this container is having a clear plan of what are you going to do. The accountability, like it could be people that can be accountability. It could be yourself that you put timelines and all that, coaches that you get, but what kind of accountability? And a lot of people might not like that, especially creatives, to have like necessarily accountability because creation is flowy, but a lot of times it can provide you that sense of kind of like a container. And when we have containers for our creativity, it can be very helpful. It's not always, but it can be very helpful. So if that resonates with you, then considering what accountability do you need. Schedules, like what is the schedule that you have? You can look into your calendar. What is the schedule that you're going to offer things, how that's going to fit in your life. The marketing, what's going to be the marketing like? What's going to be, are you going to do it via social media? Are you going to do the old school sending letters? Are you going to do like voice of, like talking to people? So like referrals, like what kind of marketing skills or marketing strategies are you going to use? Because a lot of what happens with people that want to bring soul-led, including myself, things into the world is the way that we communicate our gifts sometimes can be very vague, and there's going to be people and clients that are going to resonate and they're going to be like, yeah, I completely understand you. But there's also going to be a lot of people that they need that extra layer, like they're holding a little bit layer and they have that, on them, but the way that they need to hear it is different in order for them to take that next step. So marketing can be one of the challenges I would say that I struggle and that a lot of spiritual soul-led entrepreneurs struggle with. And because a lot of time is still, I feel like this is crumbling, but a lot of it's still like in a men's world, in a patriarchal, white cisgender men kind of way of doing it. So when you're changing it, people are still kind of, it's a big transition. They're still used to like a little bit of more push or that. And if you don't do that, that sometimes people might not do it because that's what they've internalized of what marketing is. So hopefully as we continue to evolve and more people continue to start changing, then this starts changing as well. But I'm just being super honest. This has been my biggest challenge overall. Consistency. And like, what's the consistency of your program and how, like, this is very important. And for someone like me, that one of the things that people tell the most about me is my persistence. I thought everybody was like that, but you'll be surprised about how many people like join things or whatever, and the people don't follow through. And it's different. Like if I would have said today, like I can't because my daughter is sick, we're going to change it for Monday, whatever. But it's different that than actually like disappearing and not fulfilling, and people pay for all these things because the online business world, it's huge, and a lot of people are just doing it because they can make lots of money if they use old strategies of marketing and putting people into feeling their pain and all that, and basically manipulating people. But a lot of people don't follow through. They're great at marketing, they're great at sharing their strengths and feeling confident, but they don't follow through. And you'll be surprised how often a lot of people are they get things that they don't get, that it doesn't follow, so the trust is lost. And again, it might be surprising for some of you, but I hear this a lot, even in the therapy world, of therapists that have disappeared on clients, or they don't call them back. And it's not because they died, they just never do that. Or, yeah, many crazy things here. Needed support, like if somebody, not only the support that they need from you, but also what support do you need to hold this container. And some of the supports can be things like having systems, and that's why processes in place is also very important, like having the systems. And a lot of the systems involve an investment, but they can bring you peace of mind. Like for I'm very much into systems, and I am so happy I did, especially now as a mom. Like I use Simple Practice for my therapy clients, and they schedule them on their own. I charge them there. They don't have to call me to schedule anything. Like they're all on their self schedule. And when I released that after I had my second daughter, after I had my daughter, that was like freedom. It's also scary because there's weeks that I don't have many clients. And then like this week, tomorrow it was like today it was like a free day, and last minute a lot of people started like scheduling stuff like that. But I can't right now. I've been getting lots of calls, and it's so hard being in the East Coast because I'm still licensed in California. And like I get calls, and I was with my daughter and she was screaming or crying or in pain. And I'm like, I cannot pick up a call. It's so hard for me to follow up with people that call me, even friends and family. So I need that kind of support. So I'm okay with paying. I know they increase their prices and all that, but right now I don't even have space in my mind to do research and change and all that. I'm like, whatever, I'll pay for that because that gives me a sense of peace. There's also a system that I use right now. I use ConvertKit for emails, and before I was using Kajabi. The difference is it has more features and stuff, but that you can schedule the emails. Like you can schedule from weeks in advance, like put the date that you want them. You can put there, who are you going to send this? Like, for example, the ones that you've been getting most of them are only sent to you, that you already joined you opted in, that's the technical term, into a form for this create a soul-led program beyond the one-on-one. So in the description, like who am I going to send this from, my whole email list is already said only to the people that are subscribed to that form. And then I also have, and not to the people that have already put the click of I'm not interested in listening about this anymore. So that way, that part of respect. So that system has that. So I just go there and it goes on its own, and I can schedule it. And I need that because I can't be last minute doing an email or or going into my own Outlook or Gmail. That's crazy. And then Kajabi, where the landing page is, where the information, the checkout pages, and people can pay on their own. I don't have to give my cell or my PayPal. I don't have to like follow up with any of that. So like the more processes and systems I have for whatever needs you have, and they might be different from you, and that you might start, or if you have more capacity, you might start just doing like a PDF of offering your services, and you can put your cell or people, and then you send them a confirmation after you receive the payment. You can do all of that. For me, I just right now with two little kids, limited support, it's not possible. Otherwise, I would just not be doing any of this. The reason I stayed this week and I kept it going, it was because all of this was done over a month ago. So that's why I was able to like, okay, I can do this because I have it all basically done. And those are also the importance of the schedules and the plan. of you doing things in advance. I used to be the person that I used to do things very last minute. Ooh, splurge of the moment. But a lot of times that was not even grounded. And it was, some of them would come into fruition, but a lot of them was like a very frazzle, or I don't even know the word, energy out there. And that was not helpful. And people can feel it when you are organized versus when you're grounded. So when you're creating soul-led offerings, even though like right now I'm in a program that I am creating, like a new one. I had to submit yesterday my proposal for the new program that I'm creating under that, they're helping me there. We've been working on this for like 4 weeks of the whole thing. And this is still just the overall overview. I haven't done any landing pages, any emails, anything. It takes time. And for this launch right now, Rooted and Rising, I've been working on it since the end of July. I've been meeting, they've been with my coaches, they've been asking, what's the methodology, what is this, what are you going to keep, what are you going to take, the copy, they review it, the emails, all of that. Because, and there's still things that change. Like last night, I was like, no, I'm going to change that investment. I'm going to offer that extra one to be more accessible, but also respecting that I cannot do scholarships at the moment because of my own financial needs and stuff, but being able to offer different things so people can have different ways of entering. But that was last night, but it was easy because I kind of, it was just a simple thing that I had to change. If not, I would have just said it here and maybe later on change it. But that's the piece of, it takes time. And if you want to do things rush, soul-led, they need that fostering, they need that water, that nurturing. And that's the piece that a lot of people don't want to, because we've been indoctrinated, or not indoctrinated, we've been told that you can get rich fast, that there's, with this session, we're going to clear your trauma. I hate those people that, talk like that. I don't hate them. I just hate the idea that people can believe that, especially people that I work with that have chronic trauma, that in one session, all their traumas are going to go. Or by doing one ceremony or something, all of it is going to go. Is most likely that won't. You can get much more, you feel much better and you can hold it, but that's not the way. And that's the same with here. So I don't want to like create any false assumption that this is like a get rich, get fast. In Rooted and Rising is those 4 months, a lot of it is that inner work that you do and creating, and you might not see money necessarily coming in from that. But once you continue to water those plants and all that, eventually it will, and it will be, that's the idea of stronger, because you'll be able to hold more of changes and all that. So just giving you that little speech of the importance when you're talking about soul-led, to know that. And if you have, again, let me open the box. Yeah, if you have any questions of anything that I'm saying, just put it in the chat. Okay. Now let's go into something that I've been lately talking in the last few years a lot, which is like different ways that you can get it. And I'm going to review this. This is more of a review. And then we're going to go into like what would try to focus on which one resonates with you the most, or which one brings more curiosity. Curiosity can be a good to lean on. So if something brings more curiosity, then maybe you can explore that. And obviously today we're not going to create the whole, vision, but we can start like pieces and start giving you watering those seeds. So then when you think out of the box, then you can start continuing and expanding this. So here are the 5 that I'm going to talk about: online courses, memberships, group programs such as this one, Rooted and Rising, live events, retreats, master classes, workshops. Those are the 5 that I'm going to talk about, because those are the 5 that I have had some kind of experience, or I feel more comfortable sharing. I don't want to share about something that I haven't, but there's so many more. Like, again, Sophia here, she kind of does publishing of like self-healing workbooks and books. So there's many things, speaking engagements, there's so many, but I'm just going to focus on these 5 ones that are more in the online business kind of world, because that's what I've been doing for the last few years. So online courses, this is the one that most people start with or have heard. and some of the benefits. So some of the benefits of online courses is if you do it all pre-recorded, you can do something once and then you can continue selling it even when you're sleeping. And that's, that idea of the evergreen is a technical term to say that you are always offering, like it's on a site that people can buy it at any moment. Versus a launch, that means something like this, like I'm opening the doors for Rooted and Rising, but then I'm closing them. You can open the doors for a course and then you can close it. So that's part of the benefits. The downsides of a course, it's a lot of times is like depending on what you add into the course, because some of them you can have like Q&A calls, you can have group coachings, you can have like a membership or a private group, be a Facebook, be a Mighty Network, be a Circles. There's so many websites right now that you can use. Slack, some people use Slack for that as well. Or the other one, right now I'm blinking. But you can do all of that. So the more that you add here, then the more interaction you can have with the participants. But one of the things that a lot of people don't like about courses, like how many of you have bought a course and you have not even opened the page, right? And it will continue to happen. So that's one of the downsides. A lot of times, if you don't have any follow-up, then it just, people really don't necessarily learn, especially also like if a course is more like teaching like this and it's audio and visual, but there's no like accountability or follow through or anything, the less interaction it has, then the most likely the person won't complete it or won't get the most benefit from it. There could be people that can get a lot of benefit from some of it. Like right now I was thinking, I want to start doing candles, and I was YouTubing videos of it, but then I thought, there might be a course that I can do on my own time at night, and I can just watch the videos. And for something like that, I don't feel like I necessarily need a lot. Like I don't need Q&A calls. I don't want a group coaching calls. I just need a video, like a consistent, instead of me looking at YouTube at different people with their different styles. I just need something concise all together that I can look at and I can do it. So I guess it depends on the topic that you're gonna teach. And that goes into choosing the topic. And this one, I would say, going back to those innate gifts and what you're here to do. But this one is also, it's a very important. How are you going to structure it? I used to teach in universities in Puerto Rico and then in LA as an adjunct. So I am used to creating the syllabus and creating a class. So I think from it that way. The same with the modules. So like thinking of the different modules and the different things that you're going to add that you're going to consider are important. One way that you can do it is like think of a syllabus, and let's say you're going to teach, I don't know, somebody here write a topic that you are interested in. It's better if I use examples. Burnout recovery. Okay. So burnout recovery. So then if that's the topic, then it would be like, okay. And then you would go into like, what do they need for this? Is it going to be more education? Is it going to be more helping them? And depending on that, then that's when you're going to create the modules. One could be about what is burnout. The other one can be about different ways of recovering, and you can go different levels. Let's say you want to go like a body, mind, and spirit or whatever. Like if you want to go in body practices to recover from that, and mind practices to recover from that, and spiritual or other or whatever relational practice to recover. So like you can divide it or you can just do a module on the recoveries. It depends. And the more modules and more things that you add to it, then the more, and if it's more of a quality, then that is also going to increase the pricing. And then you can do in the modules, some people, I've seen from all. I actually recently bought last year a course on planting, and the person sent us like seeds from 6 things, and it was herbs and like medicinal herbs. The whole course, it's basically PDF. It's all writing, and there's a little videos of examples on how to do things, but the whole thing is just literally like PDFs. The modules, there's not necessarily like a full presentation like this and the whole thing. So you can do so many things about it. About the pricing, this is such a very like tricky question, because it's going to go on you and what you feel, what you're giving And especially, I know, Alimari, that you're a new mama. So anytime that you're away from your baby after work, it's priceless, right? So when you start thinking of the things that you do, you also have to think from that perspective. Like, how long would it take you? The investments that you're going to do for that. Like, are you going to put it in a software like Kajabi? Are you going to put it in a software like Mighty Networks? You can put it, but all those places you have to pay, unless you do a Google Drive, that you can also do it that way. But I think you still have to pay, like if you're using Google for business, but it's like $8 or something. Don't quote me, but it would depend on all those different factors. And definitely the other thing is, from a solo perspective, pricing is also something that I've been practicing. There's the logical part, but there's also the part of you sitting down. And one of my coaches, she mentioned this exercise, and sometimes I've used it on using like Oracle cards or something, and like choosing one that it would be a yes response, and then put in post-its of different prices, like put one in the middle. Let's say you put 200 in the middle, and then you put on one corner a plus sign, and on the other one a minus sign. And then you're going to be putting the cards until the one that you already identify as the yes card falls on, and then notice it. You can use a pendulum, you can use the body, you can do like the body muscle testing, and you can also do it with your hands. You can just ask for guides. I mean, there's so many ways, but I feel like that is after you already take in consideration all the expenses, the time, and for you to create it. Also, if it's a new one that you're creating, a lot of times call them beta, so they charge less for those, and they're also wanting to get some people share their, what's the word, their experience, give like feedback. Right now I'm forgetting. Testimonials. So you can do it for less, so people then share testimonials, and there's many different strategies that you can go about it. But definitely this is something that I have on the Soulful Therapreneur, which is is a course that is part of Rooted and Rising. I have modules on all of this. And then self-paced or life. So I have a friend, and she has a course on writing your first memoir, but she integrates like fantasy and like fairy tales and stuff. It's really cool, very creative. So she does it one time a year live, and is always and I think it starts in February through May. And then that has live calls, and then she teaches the material live, and it has like extra things, you know. But for those that don't want to take it, after that, all those recording, then they become the self-paced, and then you can take it without any of the calls, not being able to ask questions or interact during and all that kind of stuff. So again, a big one. I'm simplifying here. Memberships. This is another big one, and you might be part of several memberships, including Netflix or Disney Plus or HBO Max. I mean, everything now is a membership, right? And we often, like, I remember when I went to different full day trainings on online business, and people would be like, "Oh, memberships," and like, well, how many of you have Netflix? How many of you that? And it's like, oh, okay, we do have memberships. So I believe, here's what I believe, here's what I've noticed in my experience as being part of different memberships. Some of the benefits are that you can definitely create a beautiful community in it, especially if it's interactive and all that, and you participate, it could be beautiful. A lot of the memberships include monthly content. And when I say that, it could be classes, it could be, and I'll share with you, Sophia, the memoir class information. Yeah. Okay, back here. It could be classes. It could be like how-to video. It could be anything that you do on a monthly basis. It could be like, I'm going to share one that I am right now, the one from Kate. So Kate has monthly, she has like a call, like a download. I think she calls a download, which is more of like a theme that she's been focusing on for that month, that she wants to bring all of us like on the same. So she talks about that. I think right now is about money. So, and abundance. So the download was about that. And those classes, she brings like the newer things that she has learned about it and all that. Then on a monthly basis, there's also a group coaching call. And even though it's 1 hour and usually there's over 100 people, you'll be surprised. Like, she's so gifted in doing group coaching, and people send their questions beforehand, and then she just answers questions, answer questions. And even if you don't submit a question, what happens in those spaces is a lot of times your questions that you were having in the moment are being asked and they get answered, or somebody answers something else. And the beautiful thing that she has created in her membership is the aspect of community. Like, whenever I join any call live, the chat is like ongoing, and you get support, you get people to then send you something back and forth. It's like you're like in a women's circle. It feels like. I feel like that's what she has created in her membership, and it's a beautiful membership. The downside is that if you don't have enough people, then it's a big it's a big investment. Like, hers is right now, I think $100 a month or 90 something a month, and I don't know how much a year. But when you start, a lot of the times what I see is people are charging $25 a month. Some people even go into Patreon and do excuse me, the $7. I don't advise that, because if I mean, I don't advise that if you don't feel like for you, it's like you're going to grow white. Like, I know Linda Garcia's membership is very affordable. It's like, I think in the 30s, or she offers like lower, but she has like over 500 people. So if you're able to get to that, then it's amazing. But not everybody wants to do that, especially if you're starting, or if you want to hold that, because you're going to need support, a lot of support. And I mean, employees and all that. But if you're starting on your own and you cannot afford paying someone to be your community advisor or like all that, and it's all you, imagine, how many people you can hold in that space and how much access people have to you. This is very important. In some memberships, people expect to have access to the main trainer or whatever, and then you're the whole day, like on Facebook, if you use Facebook group, or Mighty Network, answering question and all that. So like, setting very important boundaries are very important. Kate recently, she's out of that. So she's changing the model for her not to be the name of the company. So now is the origin company. And she has people that are also doing teachings on a monthly basis. She also has someone that does a nervous system regulation class. She has someone that does body-based regulation, and that's her right hand. And she has other people that do something else. But again, her membership is huge. She's been doing this for 4 or 5 years more. But when you start, you have to think about that. And if you add anyone else to come and teach, then you're also going to be paying them. Like on Saturday, so tomorrow, I'm going to participate in a membership, and I'm going to do a class on trauma 101. And it's a huge membership in Latin America. And so I haven't done that presentation, but it's a simple one. It's Trauma 101. And I have several in English. I just have to translate. But that membership, that's what they include. They include monthly guest speakers. And this month, the topic is on trauma. And I'm going to do for 45 minutes, just talk about the basic of trauma. And then the next 45, I'm going to talk about like answer questions and clarify things that they have and bring to the surface. So, and that's kind of different ideas. Platforms, I mentioned different ones, Mighty Networks. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, that sounds crazy and it's too much technology, just know that you can start again using like one like Patreon that is already all there. You can use a Facebook. You can use Mighty Networks. It's also very like easy to manage and all that. And you can go as big as using, I think Kate now moved to Circle, which is a huge one, or it has more things to do. But you can start small. It could be just a Zoom call on a monthly basis, and you put that recording on a Google Drive that everybody has access to, and that's it. And on that Google Drive, you can put a PDF or something, and you can divide it, like create a file for January, a file for February. You can do as simple as possible. If what you have to give is good and people want that, and then the platform is not going to be the most important. And as you grow, then you can invest in something different. So don't let the technology steer you away if a membership is what bubbling inside of you and that's what you want to do. And also, for those that join Rooted and Rising, my coach is going to have a class on the main technology, like the basic technology to start and all that. And I am, for the most part, good with technology, so I can also support you as throughout those. Okay, $8 to hundreds per month. Again, I see this more like in Patreon, but if you're going to do that, then maybe that is just a PDF that you're going to put, or guided meditation that you're going to put. Like, honestly, don't ask for $8 a month for a monthly group coaching call, like a download. Don't. I did that for like 3-4 months, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it, especially like where you are in your journey. And I'm here talking to psychotherapists, healers, and coaches. So I'm assuming you have your education, you have practices. So I feel like that is like giving things for free. Again, if you are in a very good financial situation and you want to do that to give back, amazing. Even if you want to do it free. But if you're doing this as part of also building a business and you need the finances, then don't do this, please. Don't. I am also seeing right now in Instagram the whole thing of a membership, and people are paying. It's this happening in the middle of the lunch, and I'm like, that's on the back burner. I'll learn about that later. But I'm seeing that some people are like for $3 or $4. So it will be interesting to see if it matches with the effort that you have to do. Group programs. So there's like this one. So Mastermind, group coaching, mentorships. The benefits, a lot of them is more interaction with people. You can like really do so much more. There's more, again, like mentoring and helping them to do something or during that container time. The downside can be of the time that now you're going to be more involved if you're going to do more involvement things. And I think that's one of the main ones that I'm thinking of. And also like the opening and closing, like a lot of people, like I like when I'm in a mastermind or a coaching or mentorship, I like to attend live to the calls. So if the calls are not within my time frame, then I cannot do them. So that thing, I think, is also very, very important to consider when you're thinking of a mentorship. Like that could be one of the downsides. Some people might not join because of that situation of the time. The duration of it could be several weeks to several months to several. I've been in two, that one was 9 months and the other one was 10 months. And they were amazing. It was beautiful to be in a longer container. And some of them included the other services were in-person retreats. And the last one that I was last year, that I miss it so much, because it was called Devotional Leadership Council. And we met on a monthly basis twice, once for a group coaching. The other one was for one of us to teach each other and help us. And then I also had every other week or something. Yeah. Small group calls with my sisters, and we continue to meet. We recently restarted those calls. Now we're doing it once a month, and it's amazing to continue connecting with them. Besides this, there were courses that Nisha had, part of it that I could have access to, and those in-person retreats. One was in Santa Fe, Nuevo Mexico, and the other one was where was it? Wait. Oh, Costa Rica. Yeah, it was a beautiful. Then there's the group calls, one-on-one calls. Nisha also included one-on-one calls. And the one that I was for the 10 months did not have one-on-one calls. Pricing, this is usually on the, like on average, like between 1,000 to 2,000 a month. So the one, and I'm just sharing this so that way you have ideas. The one that I was for 10 months, it was 15,000, the whole investment. And the one that I was for 9 months, it was 10,000. So those are big investments, but you can get, and also access to them personally and all that. Live events. This one is that aspect of, again, The benefit is could be that connection if that's what you're seeking and that's what you want, like, warm bodies and being together, and the amazing magic that can come from live events and retreats. Downsides, the time constraint that some people might not join. It could be a lot of work. I've done several live events when I had my office in LA. I want to do a retreat, but what's holding me back is the commitment of all the work and the logistics. And it's not only of, and I was talking to someone that I want to get some consultations to help me with this, but I'm like, what I'm afraid of is more about creating a good container that people will be safe and okay. Cause that's what scares me of a lot of these like spiritual retreats, that I'm like, how weird can it get? I'm being super honest. Like, how weird would this get? And how safe would I be? And coming from Puerto Rico is a little cultural shock when I interact with people here in the US with women, that they can be very different. So I am also very cautious about the retreat and the people that are getting kind of like attracted to that retreat because of that situation. But yeah, so those are some of the downsides, and just being completely blunt and honest about it. But some retreats can have a beautiful but they need to have a trainer, facilitator that can hold it. I'm getting now trained in family constellation, and the person that's doing the family constellation has to hold the field. And the more that that person has the capacity to be present and hold the field, then the more magic can happen. So that's why, I think it's important. I feel like as a facilitator down the road for like live retreats, I want to grow into that, be able to hold the container. And if something goes wrong with someone or whatever, that I can hold that I'm not going to go like into, oh my God, and kind of like frantic mode. So I feel like there's a lot of responsibility in retreats, and people don't talk about it. And again, my informed trauma part of me is like, we have to be careful if we're doing things and somebody goes into a panic attack, or I don't know, some people can go into psychotic breaks after ceremonies and stuff. So just something bringing here. The duration, several days to a week, depending on what you're doing. Location and logistics. Nowadays, there's a lot of places that are kind of prepared in a way to help you with that. Like the one I was in Costa Rica, it's a package, and that's what they do. They mostly just hold retreats. So they would have the food and all that, like packages. So in a way, it's a little bit easier that you don't have to necessarily do all the logistics if you choose a place like that. The support needed here, like how many staff are you going to have and all that, any collaborations that you're going to pay for those, and the pricing. The pricing, it would depend on how much if you have a place, like all those expenses that are involved, is really important to consider them before doing any pricing. Because I have heard of people that they almost go negative when they do retreats because they were not taking in consideration all these extra expenses. And, there's food, if you're going to have that food, those guest speakers, the materials that you're going to get and you're going to buy for them, all those things are extra a lot of times. And if you don't account them well, then you might go negative. So be very careful with here. And that happened to me when I was doing live events. Like the decorations, and I did one about inner child healing, and I want to bring like toys and sensory things and all that because I wanted them to have that. But like 7 or 8 people joined, and I almost made it even because I have to pay for the location that I was, all those kind of things. And then I got really disencouraged of like, this is a lot of work and not that much in return. And yeah, I can't. After that, I got pregnant. I'm like, I can't do that anymore for now. And the last one, I believe, is master classes. So benefits, I mean, you can teach so many things in just a webinar. Like this whole thing that I'm doing this 3 days, this is like a master class. This is like a training that then down the road, I can expand on and charge for it and all that. So you can have like a short time that you offer this information. It could be so helpful. The downside is, again, like it's just a time constraint, and it might have less interaction, or you might not be able to do any follow-up necessarily, or you can with anything online, any offering, anything that you do online and outside, you can create it however you want. You can create a masterclass that then includes like a 30-day follow-up, a group call or something to see where they are. Like you can create anything, which is the cool thing about this. And at the same time, for some people that can be too overwhelming because there's too many options. duration of class, presentation. This presentation, what I do, here's my process. I know how to use Canva. And for the one that I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm just going to do Canva. And so I know how to do it. I pay for the pro Canva so that there have more things that I can use. But lately, because I have a virtual assistant and I did this with so much time in advance, like this was done in September, early September, but all the copy was like by the first week of September, all the copy was done. So I just use a Google Doc and I just put next slide and I put things. And then my virtual assistant is amazing. I've been with her for so long that she knows my style. She knows so I don't have to tell her. I do change some of the images because I just, to make it feel more cozy for me. Some of the images I feel like are too white or for that. So I changed some of the images, but she does this whole. So this presentation, she did it. And then if I needed to add a slide, I would just replicate one and change it and whatever and work around it. So the ones that you see that are a little weird, those are the ones that I did to add into the presentation. And somebody might tell, but it doesn't matter. But some people get freaked out on that. I'm like, how am I going to do the presentation? I did a whole mentorship when I started, before like the first cohort of what now became Rooted and Rising. And I was like, I don't want to do anything online, like a presentation. And what I did, I just got one of those white big papers and I was just writing in the moment. Like I was like, I want to do like a live class. And that's how it was. And that's okay. So you don't have to use PowerPoint or a Canva presentation. You can just talk and show things and what have you. Interactive, like how interactive it can be. And this is the part that sometimes with some master classes, if you have a time constraint, you might not be able to answer questions. They might feel like you're just teaching. So technology and pricing, it depends. And let's add here, what if you add CEs, which is another whole thing that I'm also exploring myself, that can make it even more attractive for people, but also then with the pricing, then you have to take into account, are you gonna pursue and become like a CE sponsor yourself? Or are you gonna look for someone that is already a CE sponsor, but you still have to pay them and all that kind of stuff? So really look into that, but that's just something extra to add that we all have. And lately, I'm going to speak for the APA. There have been way more about diversity talks and, cultural aspects. So you can frame a lot of these things. If you were able to get a degree or whatever you learned, and if you did a dissertation or a thesis or something, any paper that you did, that you had to put references, that you had to justify, that you had to put objectives, then you can submit a CE. I did one for the LA County Psychological Association. It was a simple like 3 or 4 pages of a proposal that you had to put like a little summary of what is it, what are the 3 objectives, how are you going to measure that. It was so simple, and some references of the books or articles that you're going to use it. So don't get discouraged of that. Okay, before we move into this, any questions about, or anything like you're like, this one sounds more or less? I'm waiting several seconds and see. It takes a little while for the shot to come. While I'm doing that, I'm also going to look for the name. Timing for marketing. Yes. Okay, there's that one. Let's see if there's any other question before I proceed. Janelle Hardy is the name for the person that does the memoir with the fairy tale. Okay. Timing for marketing. Timing for marketing. So I'm gonna speak with the people that I'm working, what they recommended. The standard is 2 weeks before, like let's say whatever you're gonna launch. If you're gonna do a live launch, like I'm doing, then I could have done like I could have pre-recorded this, and that would have been like a series of videos that you would have received. I could have done 1 class, but the person recommended, let's do a three live training or live webinars or whatever. There's so many terms, workshops that you can have. And the Facebook ad started 2 weeks prior. So like about 10, 14 days before the first day of the live training. And that's kind of the standard of the industry that they do. So, and however, from a marketing perspective, you're always marketing. So that's just like full on, like announcing, if you want to use Facebook ads and all that, like about 2 to 3 weeks before the actual event. However, if you're starting new and you want to give yourself more time, or you're doing it all year on, like I'm not doing any of the Facebook ads and the data and all that, or any of that. But if I would have done that, then I would have given me more time, because it would have been like a learning curve and all that. But I did not want it to do it myself. But if you're doing it on your own and you want more time, I've done it in the past that I've done like a month in advance, a month and a half. The only thing is, like, you're for a full month or the time that you're marketing, and you get tired AF. So that's the other piece, and yes, you can be like, I'm taking it slow and all that. But right now I'm approaching, like, this is first week of full on. And I mean, I haven't been full on because baby has been sick, but yeah, but it starts to get tired, even though I'm doing it on a very slow pace, very not super on it, like I've done sometimes. And it can feel so spammy. Yes. So that's the piece. And then, for example, for me, I'm going to extend a little bit more the closing day for people to apply for Career and Rising until the 31st. So it's basically like a month. So 2 weeks before the live event, and then 2 weeks after for people to actually apply. And that's kind of like the standard in the marketing out there. However, like I mentioned, you're always marketing. So, and like, if you can start talking about it before, and you can start sharing articles, you can start sharing videos and stuff about the problematic, and how do you solve it. So you can start doing that before that, for like about a month or 2 weeks before you even start announcing the event. So, but that's why you have to do it, like, have that clear plan and start like doing it in a very intentional way. If anybody remember, I started talking about Rooted and Rising since like September, like, hey, I'm working on this, I'm going to open the door soon. So, you start talking about it, but you're not fully advertising it. And then, or a class. Okay. And if there's any other question, we can stay. My goal is to be able to do at least 2. So, or my goal is to do 3. Let's do that. Because Sarah, Elimari, and Melissa. So let's start with Sarah, because those were the 3 that were, and I believe Veronica was also in the, she's not here. Yeah. Let's start with Sarah, and we can see where we're going. So how about we give 10 minutes to each, and then at the end, if anybody wants to have any more questions, then we'll do that. Offer books, gifts. Yes. I don't know if the question, Veronica, is like, can you expand on the question? I'm just reading a question on the chat, like about books or gifts. So after the person joins, I like to do like a little gift that I send them. Okay. So while that question, and I'll answer that question later. Okay, Sarah. So how am I going to do this? Give me 1 second. Okay. So I won't be able. Why don't the best way would be for you to unmute yourself in a second. And okay, the question came, yes, after the person joins as part of participation. Yes, this is kind of like outside of the therapy. So this is more like a business. If you're joining something, and you know how you go to the dentist and they give you like something, like, you can do whatever you want. If gifts is something that you appreciate, then definitely. Remember, this is not therapy, so it doesn't follow the therapy. And that's why we talked, there was some question, I think it was you that asked about separating or how do you do that, but this is not. So this is your own business. You can even create an LLC for this, or so you can do this how you want to. Literally, in that sense, obviously following some legal advice. Okay, so Sarah, we're here for you. Let's if you can unmute, or I have to ask you to unmute. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Okay, so let's get this. So in general, can you share what ideas or that you want to create?
I like of doing the master class and future planning. Maybe doing some recordings and going into the funnel marketing. So that was all very interesting to hear about um, launching
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks before um, and starting getting the content out there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The launch in itself is a whole, it's a whole thing. Funnels are, that's such a horrible term sometimes, you know, it's like you're funneling people into whatever, but creating something that people can find you, and then you build the relationship, that's part again of that marketing. And Sophia, you were asking, so this is also part of it that you do beforehand. That's why a lot of people do freebies or something, or even a $7 PDF or class or meditation or something like a short course so people can get into your attention. So that is a very good idea. And Sarah, what kind of master classes, like teaching what?
I'm not too sure yet, but definitely brainstorming.
Okay. Do you have a little bit of what's the count, like what, let's start with right here. Like what were some of those innate gifts that you identify?
I think the one that stood out the most was holding space.
Okay. And when you did the meditation or later, if you again listen to it, did any messages came about what, like any collaboration wanting to emerge?
I think definitely expanding on really deep diving into starting up, continuing education. And I think we, during that, we also mentioned
Mhm.
kind of the grandmother aspect that was really talking.
Mm, mhm,
So I just imagined this wise tree that kind of had a grandmother type of
hmm.
um, communication coming through.
Okay. Okay. So holding space for any population in particular or for any situation.
I haven't decided yet, but I'm still thinking about that. That was definitely a good message that came through in a great meditation.
Okay. And then, so then you're still in that process of like figuring a little bit of this, and this is part of then moving here. But what I would definitely advise would be of starting to continuing without pushing to explore, who are you here to serve? Like who are you here to hold space? And a lot of time those questions, also asking yourself like what space do you crave that somebody would hold you? And a lot of times we forget that when we think of ourselves and our journey, that could be really helpful to focus on us, of how, like in our past. And then if you already have that kind of midway to figure it out, it's not like you're a newbie and you're not like, oh, I'm just learning about this, let me do it. But if you are like midway figuring it out, you have several years or years of experience it, and you want to just hold space, and that's something that you know that you're good at, then you can start serving them, and you can start doing, whether you want to do a support group or a circle. And it could be, there's even books about holding circles, but there's circles that you don't necessarily have to do any feedback, and that's part of the structure. The structure is that you you sit down, you know, there's rules about listening, not interrupting, and each person just shares and just has that moment to share, and then you're holding the space. and everybody else holds the space as well. And that's it. And that's kind of the activity. And you might be surprised of how healing that might be without any need. And the person then can ask, like, I'm open for feedback, or I'm open, but some groups, some circles, they have a rule that there's not going to be any feedback. So nobody can come. I mean, nobody will ask for it, because that's part of the expectation that that would not be offered in that group. This is just a space, a whole, like literally a space that you're going to be held, and without any judgment, and that's it. Kind of like sometimes in, when people share in AA or something, that you're sharing and there's no necessarily feedback or something. So that's just an idea. And there's a lot of, like, if that sparks in you, then I would definitely recommend you to look into that. There's courses on doing women's circles, getting certifications. One person that comes to my mind is Christine Gutierrez. She has some courses on that, on doing women's circles and all that. So, but if you don't want to do women, you want to do any gender, but just, circles. So that's something that just came. And then, like, really fostering. And then that would be of creating a plan about it, like your accountability, what's going to be the schedule, what day, if you're going to do that, how you're going to market that, the consistency. I did not put here, but one very important piece is the price. If there's going to be a price, or is it going to be free? I have a friend that she just goes and is a peer led and nobody pays. Everybody brings some food and then they eat at the end. And that could be a way for you to practice those skills. Or if you want to start charging, it could be in so many different ways, but that's what I have for you. Any questions about that?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And okay, so we're going to go to Elimari and then Melissa. So before that, there is the name of the book of Holden Circles or courses. I'll answer this at the end, or and so that way I don't get distracted and I'm able to do that. But I will answer. And if I cannot do it here, just send me an email and I can send that to you. But Christine Gutierrez was the person I mentioned. And the book right now, I need to look into my Kindle. Okay, Elimari, if you have time, and I mean, if you can unmute, yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so share with us a little bit of the overall, what you want to bring. And
I think I'm confused right now. I'm sorry you hear the background, the baby.
Oh, no worries.
Crying, but
no worries.
So I think I'm confused, like trying to figure it out. I have different ideas of different stuff, and it's kind of like I'm kind of like confused on which one I really need to start with. So I'm kind of like struggling with that because I don't know where to go, and I think I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm just confused.
Okay.
As you know, I started with the healing box a couple of a year ago or so, but I just let that in the air, and I would like to go back on that and kind of like go in that line. But I'm trying to figure it out what could be the best way to do it.
Okay, this is a great example of when we go into the mind. So now let's go back to over here. And it happens to all of us. So when you did the identifying the inner gifts, what stood out for you the most?
The most, I have a couple of stuff that I write down, but I think help people was one of those that I kind of like resonate a lot. Let me see, I see the list here. Yeah, I think like helping people
in what specific?
And education. Yeah, sorry.
No. What specific of helping them with what? Like, let's narrow it down a little bit more.
It's like, well, what to put here? Like see the best of them, or like with healing, probably like some kind of healing. I was like the healing box, like some kind of healing, I would say.
So seeing the best in people, so providing hope, providing, like, it also sounds like the space holder, like I'm here and we can do the healing and skills and all that. Now, I remember when you mentioned your reflection about the meditation. You said that you had something that you saw. Any messages that you received from the soul?
Peace in that moment was like more like peace and that trust thing in myself.
Right, and trust in the and then the calling. What do you feel? I know it's a huge question. What do you feel it's leaning more towards? Like right now, you work in a hospital, right?
Yeah.
And what population do you work with?
Pediatric.
Pediatric. What ages?
I'm working with a little bit of everything. Mainly teenagers, but a little bit of everything. We see all ages over there. I work mainly with psychosomatic disorders with gastroenterology.
Oh, nice. And if somebody, would give you a referral of a client, which one is the one that you're like, oh my God, this one. Like if you would go to a meeting and people will be like, we have these new clients, who wants them? Which one would be one that you'll be like, describe some of the descriptions that they would have?
From the clients that I receive, or
From the
one that I
like a new patient that they're doing triage and they're thinking, this new patient, who needs a new patient? And you're like, that's my ideal patient.
Oh, okay, for me.
Yeah.
Well, that's I think usually patients, obviously, preferably patients are willing to work, but that they want to work with the symptoms, but that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
I think mainly patients that are struggling with brain gut connection, like a lot of functional disorders like abdominal pain and anxiety, like that, two things together, like how they work with the connection between the anxiety. So patients that have a lot of GI symptoms that are triggered by anxiety, I think I like to work with those the most.
Okay. And describe some of, and maybe think, obviously, don't share any of the identifying information, but think of a client that you really enjoy working with them, that it was like you felt that it was a successful. What were the things the qualities that they had that you felt that were helpful?
Willingness.
Uh-huh.
um, um, openness to the process. With teenagers or kids, sometimes it's different than an adult, so you need to kind of like work with them in a way that they feel that they connect with you. So I would say that openness to connect with you in the process.
And then like personality wise, like the shy, the talkative, the spicy, it's not a temperament, but yeah.
I don't know. I think I usually enjoy working with kids that are talkative and they are more extroverts.
Okay,
I work with a
extrovert.
lot of shy, but sometimes it's difficult to get to more into their symptoms when they don't want to talk. But
Right. So
we have
okay.
a little bit of everything.
And I know you from Humacao, from dancing. So like if you would have one that is a dancer, that it's like wanting to, big things, but then gets anxious and the stomach issue, but they are like honest and all that, like, and that's the picture. And the more that you create that picture, then it's going to get clear of whom you're here to serve right now. And the more that you connect with this, and you can also continue to connect with the soul of like getting more, continue to give the messages of what's here right now for me, and then how to serve them. It sounds like right now you're doing the one-on-one therapy. And I wonder, like, did the hospital also offers any groups for them?
Well, I don't do group right now.
Okay.
I suppose they have different services, but what I want to do right now is outside of what I do at work. So I'm kind of like looking something totally detached from therapy.
Got
So
it.
that's what I'm kind of like confused in, how I move on from something that is not related with what I'm doing right now, like therapy wise. I want kind of like more something that is sustainable outside work.
Yeah.
Looking also into my new life with the baby and looking in the future, like I like give therapy, but I don't see myself doing this 40
Right.
hours a
Yeah, I know.
week, and I want something different from that give me room to breathe and enjoy additional to what I'm doing. So, and it's funny when you mentioned that you know me from the dancing and all that, because something that I write down
Mhm.
quickly in my notebook was connection of art and mental health. So I always want to do something related with those two things. And I think
Yeah.
that's my call. I think my call is always like how I can put together dancing or arts in
Mhm.
some way with mental health and healing. So it's how I
Yeah.
use the healing through those stuff.
And that is, yeah, that is beautiful, because there's even dance therapy and all this like movement therapy,
Yeah.
but that's, but they don't necessarily, you can do one-on-one, but you can also do groups, and you can do
Mm-hmm.
activities, and you can even do things for the parents, because those parents, I'm even thinking, they might be like so anxious of how they handle their kids as well. And a lot of times kids that are like, I was that anxious kid with GI stuff since a teenager. I would have been your client if I would have lived where you live. But my mom was very anxious as well. So, and I wish somebody would have talked to my mom, so she would come down whenever I would get any illness, instead of like going crazy and checking on me every 5 minutes. So she contributed to my anxiety. But like, even thinking, if you want to work with some parents, of that could be a course. But if that doesn't spark you and is more dancing, then doing like dancing activities, like doing now in the summer, like maybe, I mean, when the summer comes, like a dance little summer collaboration with someone, and you come and you teach them movement and how to, like, they can flow with the body and connect with their body in a different way. And it's in a group content like concept, so it's not one-on-one therapy, and it's not, there's no like patient client contract or any of that. And then if you want to do stuff like that, it could be like, again, courses for minors. They can be tricky. Some people have them. They can be tricky, I guess, is, with their attention, they have to be very willing and committed for that. But you can work around it. I was part of in that coaching. One of them, she's a dancer, and she works with preteens and teens, and she helps them to improve their skills so they can become better dancers. And it was hard, the part that it was the parents, to get the parents. But that was her whole business, is working with those minors. And she goes and does those touring and dancing. But the dancing that she would do was online. She would teach them stuff, and they would have like online classes and also in person. But I can send more information about her. And but
Yeah, sure. I would like to know that. I was looking to
wow.
certify myself and dance movement therapist, but then I was like, oh, this is too much
I
time
know,
and
yeah.
money, and it's as you said in the training, it's like we want to keep having more and more
Yes.
certifications, but at the end of the day, it's like, where I'm going with this. So I
Right.
started to take some classes, but then I got pregnant, and I was like, oh no, I don't have time for this
No,
right now.
I would recommend you though to go to there is the Expressive Art Therapy Summit. They do it in New York. That one is closer to you, and they also do it in LA. And the New York one, I think, is this month, so maybe it's too close. But the LA one is in March. And whenever I've gone through those summit, there's dance and movement and courses, and you get ideas of things that you can actually do, like workshops, and they're really, really fun. So, but I'll leave you with that, and we can definitely keep talking. But yeah, the dancing is the thing. As soon as you start talking about dancing, I don't know if you noticed, but your voice changed. You were like, oh yeah, and people here might have even noticed it. And Sophia even wrote about, even training therapists and how to offer dance interventions, so there's so many things that you can go about it. I would just let it simmer, let it foster, so that way you can keep on growing and you can get clear. And that's why building this relationship with that silence and within is going to help you to then plan this. And also, I'll put it there also, like, if you want to join, then I'd lovely to help you work that out. So
Thank you.
welcome. Okay, Melissa.
Ajá, aquí estoy.
Hola.
Dígame, I'm here, I'm here.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All righty.
Okay.
So what is some of the ideas that you've been brewing?
Yes, I've been brewing ideas for a long time now. I am still defining what is, at least I know I want to work with women, probably more towards single mothers because I'm a single mother, so it's easier for me to talk to through that perspective, or to listen or to understand their struggles, right? Mostly, I would say mostly with single women that are professionals, because it's harder. Everything makes it harder. So I think that at least in that in population, I think I
Okay, so the whom you're serving, you're getting there. Yeah, it's there. Okay. When you did the list, and I have the presentation, I can scroll back if you want to, but some of the innate gifts. Oh, you have it.
What were some of because I didn't remember.
Yes, yes. So what were some?
Yeah, the same as the space holder is definitely a big one. Listener, I think that's one of my gifts since I was a child too. And understanding, I already said that. Let me see, what educate maybe, or prevention in a way of mental health, taking care of our mental health to be able to keep growing, because most of the time, as we all hear, right, we're women that are professionals and want to keep growing, and we're looking to how to do that. That works for us with all our responsibilities and not being burnt out, right? And enjoy life, be happy. I don't know.
And going along those lines, I think like with this, like I want to start going here because I feel like you might be already around here, but definitely to continue to foster the connection with that soul. As soon as you spoke, I remember a beautiful offering that right now Toy Marie is having for single Black mothers. And I think they're like 80% of the funds. They're trying to raise $100,000 to give $500 to each single Black mom for Christmas. And within 3 days that they have raised so much money. But I was like, what a beautiful offering. This is basically that soul led that came through her, and she led it and brought it back. So different ideas. But when you spoke, I thought of that, and I also thought of beautiful circles and space, because I bet there's none. There's very limited spaces.
Very limited, definitely.
And everybody's doing it on their own.
On their own, exactly. I have talked about this to other other women that are single or have been single mothers at some point, and we thought about. For example, I have a friend that is a hairstylist, and I have a friend that is a lawyer, and I have women, right? We even, brainstorming and just talking about everything. We should do a retreat and just educate women about these different, aspects of life. And it was like, that would be so great, but how do I get from here to there?
Yes. And that's the journey. So then that's when we come down here, then it's like, there's so many different ideas. There's the retreat, there's this. And intuitively, I feel called to say, start smaller. Also because you're still a single mom and with a lot of things and a full-time job and 2 kids, start smaller. So that way you can get your quote unquote feet wet and start feeling more confident about it, and you start learning about them. So the thing that keeps coming to my mind is like circles or support groups or something like that. That you can do them on a monthly basis. If you want to do it with the moon thing, like you want to do like new moon, full moon, or not, it could be like the first Saturday or whatever. And then like choosing one day, and then the other piece would be of like, what are you going to offer there? Is it like what kind of structures? And somebody else asked about the book for circles. Let me share it right now, so that since we're talking about it, this book, let me open my Kindle. Oh, espérate, no salte. But there's books, there's courses, and the person, like I mentioned, was Christine, but there's other people that you can look into it. Okay. The Millionth Circle by Jean Shinoda Bolin. Let me put in the chat. The millionth. The author has the purpose or wants to get it that there's a millionth women's circle or circles in the world.
Mhm.
So part of the book is that. It's very simple, like the structure. And for people that have backgrounds, I mean, you're also a doctora and you have background and I know you do mostly testing, but you have background in all this, then I would say a book like that could be enough and starting to practicing for someone that has never held groups or doesn't even know how to do support groups. And I would say, okay, something more formal or course or something, but I think like you have it. And then the piece would be of like then choosing if there's going to be a date about it, what time of, and then the schedules. The hard part for single moms that are professional, I can bet, is like childcare.
Definitely.
So then some places, I was in an agency that they offer childcare for the kids while the parents were, that's a little more complicated, but there's places that, you know, how there are places that they offer like childcare that you can just go on a daily. You might find one near you and you might collaborate and they might offer like the kids are there while you're in a room with the moms. So that way you do a collaboration and it's not you have to figure out a babysitter to take care of all these kids or something, but that's the thing that's coming to mind. That could be a challenge. Then the marketing, it sounds like you already have people that you can talk about. There's something that you can share in places like that. You can share with pediatric offices or, you know, around social media and all that. But a lot of those in-person groups, like starting, people will get people. Especially like if you don't want, like, I'm assuming you don't want 50 people, you want a smaller group.
No,
So
I wasn't even thinking about face to face, you know, in person. I was thinking about
I went into
doing it
sorry,
online.
Then online it might even be easier for, you know, for
a mom,
schedules,
exactly.
for moms. So then it's like that might even be easier then, you know, with all that. And then what support would you need for that, if anything, like Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. And then what rules are you going to have? I think the more that you create structure for it, in terms that those structures can hold, that's part of that sacred masculine, that they can hold what's going to emerge out of it. And then you can have, who is this for, who is this not for? And then a lot of those circles are like, depending, there's some that are at $25 if it's more of a space holder and whatever. But if you're going to offer also teaching and do like a closed group or something like that. I had one person in Root and Rising last time that she did like a mom's group, that she mentioned that it became like a mom circle kind of thing. But originally it was more like teaching about becoming a mother, the new persona that we become, but it became more like that support. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and it feels very tender. It feels very like beautiful, you're offering. So I would strongly advise to keep exploring, and maybe starting with just one, like a meetup, circle, whatever you want to call, and down the road, let that see how it unfolds to maybe a retreat. And that retreat, if you want to do it in person, then you can schedule babysitting or whatever. Like I've seen festivals that people have done for yoga festivals and stuff, that they schedule, you know, they have babysitters and the kids could be together like in a kids camp. So but there's but I would say if it helps your brain starting smaller, then go there. And put the day and choose who you want to be for accountability and start it.
Yeah, definitely. The accountability, I think, is the the most important part that I need in my life right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. And
thank you.
Before we leave, I wanted to share, and I know I'm going to answer more questions, but offline. But for the sake of the time, I wanted to read something from Rise, Sister Rise, the one that I'm reading right now. Espérate, no me quite la página. Sorry. It was like about to change the page. And this is page This is the chapter, Let the Universe Use You. And the quickest way to fall into flow with the universe is to allow her to use you. Being of service is merely being in flow with the universe. Anything any human has done, you can do too, which means that Oprah or Lady Gaga or Beyonce or Prince or Amma or whoever you admire is no more special than you. They're no less special than you either. What we see as quote unquote special is their ability to work with the universe and allow their true nature to be revealed. They have learned how to say yes to the highest potential in store for them rather than trying to scheme it up themselves. They have surrendered and invited the universe to work through them. Perhaps they are better at surrendering, but they're no more special or unique than you. We waste so much time trying to strategize what we should do next, overthinking every move. I am blown away at how many people I admire say, when questioned, it all just kind of happened. That is flow. That is service. That is surrendering to what is rising in you, because what is rising in you is what the universe has in store for you. Your only job is to continue to commune, to show up every day saying yes, yes, yes. If we bow to this organizing principle and surrender to it over and over, our path and highest possible potential will not just be shown, it will be made real. But if we wait for the roadmap before we trust or move, we risk remaining stuck. The universe, this intelligent force, wants you to succeed. It wants you to flow with it. For when you flow with it, you are moving in service to it. So to be of service is really to turn to the universe and say, I will not resist or rely on my separate strength any longer. I am now willing to surrender to she and all that is. And with that, I am gonna stop the recording in a second and stay here for any remaining questions for the ones that are here live. But I wanted to leave you with that thought. And thank you so much for joining in this idea of create soul-led programs beyond the one-on-one. And just to remind you, as we're ending, today is the last day to apply. And if you join to get the extra, which is the 2 follow-up calls with me and the raffle to be reimbursed 50%. So I am so happy that you're here. Thank you so much. Let me stop the recording.